Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We got some special guests on the line this morning. We have Bradley Beal and Shawn Gunn. Welcome, fellas.
Morning.
Thank you.
Now, y'all here today to talk to us about a initiative called PLLAY. What is PLLAY? PLLAY with 2 L's.
That's right. So PLLAY is a platform we've created that allows for 1v1 wagering on video games. And we built some proprietary technology that makes it super seamless and easy for gamers to make money off of their skill levels. Part of that initiative is we wanted to open up the early investment opportunity to not just gamers, but people in the Latinx and African-American community to have access to a high-valued, high-potential tech company. And so we opened a crowdsourcing campaign that allows for that. Brad's an early investor in the platform. He saw the vision over a year ago, and we're here today to talk about that.
So it's a betting organization.
Wagering, monetization.
Okay.
We like that better. Yeah, exactly.
Is that even legal? Can you do that, Brad?
I mean, if they doing it.
Yeah. So as Brad knows, we spend a lot of money on a lot of lawyers, but the short story is under the skill-based wagering laws in the U.S., federally that is possible for players to wager on their own skill level as long as they're playing. So you can't bet on someone else's match that you're not participating in. But there is a small set of states that have taken their own position. So we don't operate in every state. There's a subset of about 10 states that we don't operate in. Most of the country's available to us.
So you could bet on yourself and really?
So you and I, Envy, you and I could play Call of Duty on our platform and wager $20, for instance. And at the end of the match, we escrow that fund. We'll unlock it. Our AI watches the match by using Twitch and YouTube and other platforms. And so we make it super easy for you to kind of play with fiat currency or real cash and win that money within seconds.
Now, what's the most it can go? Because this is great, especially for kids. Well, I ain't gonna say for kids, for people that play
not kids,
NBA 2K or play football. Like, this is great. What's the highest you can go? Is there a limit? Is there a cap?
Yeah, so we put a self cap of about $500 per hand or per match, if you will, right? Over time, as we get more data, we'll lift that cap or have a high value kind of VIP section, if you will. You bring up a good point, though. I want to mention, because of those skill-based wagering laws, you need to be 18 to participate. And so we have age verification, ID verification baked into the platform so we can kind of keep minors out.
Mr. Beal, averaging 33.1 points a game this year. What made you want to get involved in this play?
And he had 37 last night, by the way. Just he had a little 37 last night. And crawled under the stands to get the ball. But go ahead.
And we got to do everything to get the dub. You feel me? but no, I got involved early on. For one, because Shawn's a black entrepreneur. That's first and foremost. And two, it was a promising concept that hasn't touched the face of the market yet. So for me, it's always big to be able to get ahead of something. So this is a startup essentially. And Shawn, we met through a mutual friend, but basically when they gave me the pitch, I take a business-like approach. So if you have a legit business plan, how we can put the money in, who else is involved. But I even went a little bit further than that and just did a background on Shawn, did a background on Christine, and just seen what they've done in the past. Shawn's worked with Navtech, Nokia, he's been there before. CK has worked with FanDuel, so she understands the wagering industry a little bit too. So you put them together, they have a good basis, a good foundation for an app or a startup. So for me, I love video games like everybody else in the world, and I love to wager too. So I love casinos, I love betting. Granted, we can't bet on sport. I don't bet on sports. I leave that alone. But as a kid, and as a young man growing up in the world, it's like, okay, what's something hip that's really cool that nobody else has? And, what can we bring to the market that everybody can feed off of? Like coronavirus just hit. This is picture perfect. All we were doing was sitting in the house, shacked up playing video games.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's like, okay, how can we make that even more fun? Now you put your money where your mouth is. And the whole concept of everything is what really just ultimately lured me in. And honestly, it was like kind of a big risk factor in everything because of it being an early startup. There's envy. You're an investor yourself, so you understand. Okay, there's a possibility it may fail, there's a possibility it may take off, but that was a risk I was willing to take in this opportunity.
I got a question, with two questions actually. One, what's the percentage that the app gets, because they're actually paying, like you're playing on a like the app is a lawyer, like they're holding the money in escrow and then releasing it. So what's the percentage that the app gets? And is there anything to, let's say Bradley's been playing NBA 2K for 10 years. Now I'm a new kid, you don't see face to face, and this new kid bets and has no idea. Is there tiers to what you can play and what you can't play?
Yeah. So a couple things on the percentage. We take a different approach. We think that users should win the entire pot. And so we created, won't get into the full details, but a play token. And you buy play tokens as your entry fee to the match. And so that way we keep the revenue pot clean. So when you and I bet $20 into that match, like other platforms you've seen across sports wagering, they'll take 10, 15% of that. We give you that entire pot. So that's a big advantage to the users. On the skill level, the AI we've created, the tech we've created is ingesting or collecting how well you play certain games and also how much you wager. What is your kind of wager habits, right? And so over time, you'll see us create skill tiers and pot tiers, if you will, so that, Envy, you won't take all my money in, NBA 2K because you play that all the time and you're a big whale in that sport, right? And so we have different verticals of those sports. So today we have NBA 2K, Madden football, Call of Duty, Fortnite, and FIFA soccer. And we'll release more and more games across the year.
You know what I love, man? I asked, Bradley why he chose to invest, and one of the first things out of his mouth was he said Shawn is black. So I would like to ask, Bradley, why is it important for people to be intentional about funding black-owned, startups?
Well, without going into a history lesson, like you have to understand our nation. You have to understand where we are. Black people didn't have this advantage. We still don't have an advantage in this world in terms of investing and being able to find funding. That's always the biggest issue, finding funding, and for whatever reason, there's a lack of trust. There's a disinterest. There's a disconnect somewhere. And you can date it back to the old Black Wall Street crash and, from then on up to now, not being able to get the same loans from banks, not having the same advantages, us not having that wealth generated up in our families. And then it's an education thing. We weren't taught these things, coming up in middle school and high school. Like I'm still learning the stuff on the fly. I don't have everything figured out. So I think it's, for whatever reason, there's not just one kind of disconnect, why black entrepreneurs can't get grant investors, why they can't get other black investors to, be able to put in. But I think it has a lot to do with our disadvantages of the past. Kind of being behind in a lot of things, not having the same advantages. But for me, you do have those unicorns like Shawn, who had access to being in Fortune 500 companies, who knows how the stock operates, who knows how the market operates. And the same with CK, who's a woman, so for them, it was a minority group. And, I love that whole approach about it. And they both understood what it is that they wanted, their target audience, how they were going to approach it. And their business plan was to a T. It was kind of, almost a no-brainer for me.
Some people would say, why even invest, Bradley? You got a guaranteed $127 million coming to you over the next few years. Why even invest? Just save your money.
Brad, he's a bird, by the way. I don't know if you know that. He's a bird. He's all in your pockets. He's a bird. But go ahead.
It's all good. My pops told me not to count another man, money. But for me, everybody sees the 120, but they don't realize half of that's taken.
Taxes. Yep.
Half of that's taken. So what I said earlier, black people, we don't have that generational wealth. My family damn sure didn't have it. So I have an opportunity now to rack up on my contracts. And granted, I have to play at an extremely high level to do so. But that's an opportunity, okay, for me to take that money and apply it for life after basketball. I have two beautiful young boys, a wife, and now I have to think about them. Think about, okay, how can I make sure that my kids don't have to go to college or that their college is already paid for, and so it's being able to create that that foundation, that basis, and that discipline. Because as athletes, black athletes, everybody says, oh, they don't know how to take care of their money. They spend it on dumb stuff. They don't know how to invest, bad investments. So it's a learning experience. It's education. For me, I just take the time. I get on Google. I educate myself. I'm going back to school this summer. You have to be able to do the dirty work. You got to be able to get your mind into it and be able to learn these things, because it will pass you up.
What are you majoring in when you go back to college? I'm just curious.
So when I first went to school, hell, I feel like ages ago, I was biology pre-med. So I wanted to be a whole doctor, PT, whatever the case may be. But now it's like being in the business of basketball, being in this world where, everything is about money and investing. I've learned that, okay, I have to get a business major. So I'll probably major in business administration and finish out at the University of Florida. But it's being able to create that foundation, that basis, and understanding I have an opportunity to be able to create so much money for not only myself but my family, and impact a lot of lives around me too.
Yeah, I don't see you going back to college after this season. The way you carrying the Wizards on your back this season, you're gonna be tired. You ain't going back to school this summer. You need a vacation. I don't.
And we
see
can take one class at a time. One at a time.
There you go.
Hey, Shawn, what separates Play from other wagering organizations?
Yeah, so Brad touched on it. My background has been in data businesses, right? So I've kind of sold and helped some other ones go public. And so most of the platforms that are in the space don't take the data approach. We've created a data platform that actually allows us to monitor and do all the things I talked about without having any relationship with the gaming platforms themselves, right? So that's the Activisions and 2Ks of the world. As we all have seen now, right, data is the king, right? If you have data and the ability to build your own data asset, that's where you can win in the longer term. So we've created that environment with proprietary tech. And then I think the ability to align that with our culture, right? So to Brad's point, many times, not just in tech in general, but in gaming, there's a picture painted that it doesn't look like us, right? Black people can't run these companies, women can't run these companies, and there are no, black and brown gamers. And so we're focusing on that side of the equation globally. There's over 2 billion gamers on the planet that play the games we cover. So it's a huge audience, and many of them look like, the four of us on this call, right? And so we're inclusive of everyone.
Now, when FanDuel and I can't remember the other one came out, they came out
DraftKings.
They came out smoking, and everybody was into it. And then all of a sudden, I want to say maybe the government felt like they weren't taxing enough and kind of shut them down. Are you guys worried at all about that?
No, in this regard, that inflection point really started to happen in 2018, right? So pre-18, it was still a very clouded environment around this space and the legality of it. But in January of 2018, the Supreme Court passed kind of a law around video gaming and amateur wagering. And so we fall under that kind of skill-based amateur wagering umbrella. I think we believe, and so do many people in this industry, COVID has forced that to even become more legalized, right? I think that's where we see this industry going, because many states are going to be looking for tax revenue, ways to generate more capital. And so our space, along with what you've seen in cannabis, for instance, will start to open up even more opportunity. Does not mean that they won't tax, right? The government's going to get their piece. But from a legality perspective, I think we actually are helpful in that regard.
Have we seen more growth in the presence of Black people in the tech gaming world?
It's very small. So I'll tell you, when you look at some of the stats, Crunchbase, which is a big platform that tracks funding for tech startups and growth companies, they looked at Black and Latinx founders over the last 5 years, and we've gotten about 2.6% of the venture capital funding that's been deployed. That's against over $100 billion. So that tells you we got a really long way to go from that perspective. That said, to something Brad brought up, we have a hidden opportunity with, high net worth folks of color, athletes, celebrities, that can play part of that early funding VC role for us. because the hardest thing for a founder to get is that first $1 million, right? That's the hardest part of the equation because you're still proving out the business. It doesn't matter what your background is, right? I can walk in a room with my co-founder and we have the resume and the background, but yet and still, you know, we don't get access the way our peers do. And so changing the VC side of it is an important longer term play, but having other folks fill that role. But from a founder perspective, idea perspective, man, there's plenty of people that look like me, super smart, African-American, you know, women, other folks of color that just need the opportunity and access on an equal playing field as our, you know, counterparts.
Well, let me ask Brad, how can you identify startup companies worth investing in during the early stages? Because, you know, when you got a base salary of $28 million you're going to make this year, I know people come at you all the time.
Right.
How do you know what's worth?
Guy's a bird.
There you go.
investing in?
There you go again. For me, it like I said earlier, it's a risk. But granted, I understand I'm in a different position than a lot of other, you know, black people and people who may be considering investing. But at the same time, you know, I put in what I think is a good amount that can help the group, but I also think I can make a solid return on. You know, so I'm not going to just come in and just, oh man, I'm falling in love with your idea. Here's $3 million. Like, I don't invest like that. Like, granted, I run it through a team. I study it. I look at, okay, what is your competition on the market? Is there anything else that's going to be created like this? You know, what is your future projections? Like, what do you look like as a company? Do you plan on selling down the road? Like, I ask a million questions before I get involved. And so, you know, when they give you your pitch deck, you know, you go through the deck, it's easy to just fall in love with something, but it has to be a gut feel. And for me, it was also something that I was interested in. You know, I don't just invest in something that I have absolutely no interest in, or, you know, just because somebody or Uncle Joe says, oh, this is the new hottest thing, you know, throw some money into this. You know, you can't operate like that. And I think that's where a lot of us, you know, as athletes and celebrities get our bad names and bad investments, because we don't necessarily educate ourselves, you know. Absolutely. Or the amount of money that we throw into it is too much, you know, or not the right amount to where, you know, you kind of shoot yourself in the foot on the back end.
Well, what sports games going to be included in Play?
So today it's NBA 2K, Madden football, FIFA soccer, right? Those are some of the biggest video game sports-based titles on the planet. And then there's many more, right? There's racing games, right, that are taking up huge popularity, in particular in Europe as we move international. You know, we'll look at others, UFC, you know, boxing, all those things are at our capabilities. And we can spin up a new game with our technology within a week to 2 weeks. So it's really easy for us to kind of create that new opportunity.
Well, Mr. Bill, what team do you like to play with on NBA 2K1?
Oh man, if it ain't number 3 with the Wizards, man, I am not playing that game.
So you okay?
I have to play. I have to use myself. I have to use
Okay.
myself. It feels weird using somebody else.
Over the Brooklyn Nets or the Lakers?
Selfishly, I'm selfish.
Have
you ask any other NBA player, they're gonna say myself.
Have you ever traded
Man, we
yourself?
dreamed about being on video games.
Have you ever traded yourself on the game? And if so, what team did you go to?
Hey, go. Hey, man.
What team did you put yourself on, Bradley? I think you would be a good fit on the Warriors on 2K1. What?
I think a lot of people would like that. Oh man, you trying to get me hung up right here.
No, I mean, listen,
man.
I'm respecting the wishes. They told us not to ask about any potential NBA trades, so I'm gonna respect that. I'm just asking about video games.
But if you were playing a video game and had to
If I was
trade
playing a
yourself
video
on that
game, what would I do? I don't know. I think it'll be open market. I don't know. We're going to the highest bidder at that point.
Okay.
If we're on a video game, we're going to the highest bidder.
Okay. Right. It seems like on paper the Wizards should have a squad though. Like what's the problem you think? Why haven't the Wizards been successful so far this season?
Oh man, it's consistency. You know, being with any job you do, you know, you put the work in and you got to believe in your craft. And at the same time, you know, you got to practice good habits over and over and over again, you know, and we're doing that. COVID kind of hit us early on, so we had like 7 of our players that had it, so we didn't have half of our team. Granted, there's no excuse in this league, but we just couldn't get our continuity and our consistency together. And granted, we just came off 2 good wins last couple games. You know, we're 5-5 in the last 10, so we're showing signs of it. And you know, I think in order to be a good team, great team, you know, it's that consistency to do the same thing over and over again. Don't get bored with success.
Are you happy?
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy.
Word.
Take a lot to not make me happy. Granted, everybody wants to win, but winning in this league is hard, you know. And like, you know, the cliche saying, grass isn't always green on the other side. But there are opportunities. You never know. So I just love to grind it out through adverse times. But granted, I understand that my career doesn't last forever. I understand my prime doesn't last forever. So I keep everything in mind in this short sight for sure.
Yeah, I know they made you the face of the franchise, you know, and that comes with a lot of power. It comes with a lot of responsibility. You get to make decisions. You know, you may not get that in other places.
Exactly. So that plays a huge factor. That's 100% like number one at the top of my list of reasonings of staying, because, you know, as a black man, you know, in this industry of 450 guys, I have an opportunity to be under an organization where I have a little bit of control. You know, I have a little bit of say so. You know, I am the franchise guy. So that means a lot. That means a lot, because a lot of owners don't grant that type of trust, that type of, you know, commitment to a player or that type of relationship. So, you know, I'm honored by that, and I don't take it for granted. But I always have my guard up too, because, you know, it's a business.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's important for you to say this is where you want to be, because if not, they might still be shopping you for that March 25th deadline.
I mean, yeah, you never know. I mean, we've seen some wicked stuff in this game. You know, teams saying they won't trade guys and they trade guys. You know, guys saying they don't want to be traded, they get traded. You know, so I've seen it all. I've seen it all. And the biggest thing I can control is how I play on the court. That's it. You know, making sure my production is high, making sure I'm making my teammates better. And to your point, like, I have to. It looks bad on me saying, "Oh, I want to get out of here and then go to practice every day with my teammates." If you say that, I ain't gonna want to be around you.
Right.
I'm gonna want to, you know, get up out of here, put hands on you or something. Like, we gotta just get away, you know. So I'm just kind of built differently, and just have that mindset of, you know, grind it out, you know, until you damn near fall on your face and can't do it no more.
Do you want to stay?
Yeah, but ultimately I want to win.
Gotcha.
You know, so like I said before, I keep everything short-sighted. You know, I definitely, you know, understand the position we were in, the moves we made in the offseason. And, you know, you just keep
Washington Wizards just cut him off. See that?
Damn, Shawn. Who cut him off, Shawn?
Washington Wizards.
I was asking too many NBA questions.
There you go. NBA cut his ass off.
You were warned, Charlamagne.
Damn it, man.
We got cut off. Well, how do we get involved with PLLAY, Shawn?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to just game and download the app, you can find us on the iOS store. You can go to our IG page. It's PLLAY.me. And if you want to invest, we have a crowdfunding campaign. We think it's important for our folks in our community to get some access to those dollars. You can go to PLLAYme.com, and we'll walk you through the whole process with our partner, Micro Ventures.
Bradley, we was just saying goodbye. We figured the NBA cut you off. You thought you was going too deep in it.
Yeah, I think they heard me. I think they had me tapped. They heard me tapped. Might be some tampering.
With Bradley Beal, Shawn Gunn, we appreciate you brothers for checking in.
We appreciate it, brothers. Thank you.
Let me tell you something. You do not have $128 million Wi-Fi, Brad. That is a fact.
Hey, I'm done with you, dog. You don't let me live. It's too early for this.
Hey, y'all be cool, man.
Y'all
Peace.
be safe.
Thanks, guys.
Be blessed.